Hi, everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the content manager here at Course Report. Course Report is the resource for helping people find the right coding bootcamps for them. You can use the Course Report website to research the best coding bootcamps all over the world, as well as insights on which coding languages to learn, where to apply, and how to fund your own coding bootcamp experience. Today, I'm speaking with 3 General Assembly Bootcamp alumni who are also the winning team of General Assembly's Social Impact Hackathon. But first, let me introduce 3 of the winning team members. In Scott Park graduated from General Assembly's UX Immersive program. Jess Martinez, who also graduated from General Assembly's UX Immersive program, and Shane James, who graduated from General Assembly's Software Engineering Immersive. So Jess, Scott, and Shane, thank you so much for speaking with me today about your hackathon project. But before I have you share your screen so we can dive into what you built for that hackathon, I'd love to know a bit more about your backgrounds and why you ended up choosing General Assembly. So Scott, what were you up to before General Assembly? And then what motivated you to enroll in General Assembly's UX Immersive?
Yeah, thank you, Jess, once again for having us and hosting this wonderful Q&A with Course Report. To answer your question, before enrolling into GA UX Immersive, I worked in the fashion industry as a designer. And what truly motivated me into enrolling into GA was to learn, of course, more about UX, but after I began to see how unsustainable the fashion industry, not only in the environmental way, but also as in the business way, I wanted to, as a designer, want to solve business problems by understanding the customer and the user and help advocate design strategy to make the impact into the business.
What motivated you to enroll in General Assembly specifically? Like what stuck out about their UX Immersive program?
Well, when I read about GA, they were really the courses were very organized very thoroughly. And I really like the pre-work, how GA kind of gives you the pre-work and makes you understand the course before even you enrolling and starting the course. So after taking the pre-course, it really gave me more knowledge than I ever knew. And that really made me choose and trust GA with my UX background.
And Jess, what motivated you from going from arts administration to making that career switch into UX design through General Assembly's UX Design Immersive?
I realized that in arts administration, I was in fundraising mostly. I realized that like the end goal for that would be to end up in a fundraising director kind of role, and that wasn't really what I was interested in. And with UX design, as I looked more into it, I felt like I could grow professionally and financially into kind of a life and a lifestyle that I wanted for myself. So I'm really excited for the possibilities in UX to grow into a leadership position. The community, the UX community is really generous with their time and with resources. So it's a really great, welcoming place to learn.
And Shane, you did the software engineering immersive. So I'd love to know what that application or interview process was like, and if you have to know how to code even to apply to the program.
Hey, Jess, thank you. So no, you don't have to know how to code. And the interview process was, there was a couple steps to it. The first step was to speak to the admissions team. Someone from the admissions team interviewed you just to see what your goals, your interests were, and if you basically aligned with the program. The second step was to actually complete an assigned task that the admissions team assigned to you, which was basically creating an HTML web page. And then the third part was to complete some pre-work to get you ready for the course. So that pre-work filled in a lot of gaps for me, and it basically got me on the right foot to basically pick up and learn the material that we were going into the course.
Scott, did you have to complete any kind of design specific challenges in order to get into the UX design immersive?
As what I know, there isn't like a specific design challenge, but rather like a phone interview and the pre-course that students take. So GA tries to understand if the student really is dedicated to want to make a shift into UX, and they kind of just want to understand why you want to make the changes, and if you're a really good fit to be able to be in the UX. So I guess the strong pre-course and kind of taking the assessment and having the phone interview really is like what the process was, and that's truly great because GA tries to understand the student first and how they are willing to be in the UX. So I think that was like the process for me into the GA UX.
And Jess, I'm sure you learned so much in the UX design immersive. Just off the top of your head, what did that curriculum cover?
I mean, it covered basically everything from creating effective research guides to usability testing and sharing design solutions with stakeholders. So basically everything from beginning to end, very thorough. And everyone has questions as they're going through things in a course. All the questions were answered, not only in the class, but they shared resources where you could follow up with later.
And Shane, on the software engineering immersive side, what did that boot camp cover in terms of technologies, languages, and skills?
Covered a lot of great modern technologies. We started off by learning JavaScript, which is the language that browsers use. We went into jQuery, we went into Node, we went into Express, we went into databases such as those SQL database. We learned MongoDB, Mongoose. We also learned some new JavaScript frameworks such as React. And then we went into Python, Django, PostgreSQL. That's what we did as far as the tech. But as far as like soft skills and learning how to problem solve, everything about the course was designed to put us in a growth mindset or reinforce the growth mindset that we already came in with. I wondered what immersive meant before starting the course, and then I figured it out. Like, we were literally immersed in this culture of learning. It was a 9-to-5 experience, and then afterwards there was a bunch of resources that we had for homework, that we had readings to do, and then even after the course ended, GA provided so much resources to continue our learning as well.
And Scott, in the UX design immersive, how project-based was that curriculum, and when did you start working on projects?
So the whole curriculum was very strongly focused on the projects, and by the end of the week 2, we started to get the project and have like the project scheduled in our courses. It was very helpful because week 1, we were, like what Shane said, we were very immersive into the lesson, and we were learning so much knowledge. But because we got into the project early, it really helped us to kind of be able to use our skills and what we learned into the project.
All right, so that all was wonderful information, but I'm dying to dive into this hackathon project that you built. So let's have your team share the screen with me so that way we can walk through, myself and the viewers, what you built. So Jess, what was the problem that you were asked to solve in this hackathon, and how much time were you actually given to build this project?
So we were tasked with answering the question, what can you create to help a caregiver's peace of mind, which is, I believe, was intentionally broad. And we had our kickoff meeting on a Monday morning, and we then presented by Wednesday night. So about 3 business days plus all the late nights in between.
And Scott, what did your team decide to build for this hackathon? And please walk me through the design elements.
Yeah, so our team member Shane shared us a great story about how we can help a caregivers, especially specifically on someone who's going through a loss or has lost someone, and how as a designer and software developer as a team, we can help those caregivers to give them the support they need. What we built is a chatting function, implemented a product where a user could come and be able to speak with someone that kind of understand and goes through the same experience and same situation as them. What we built here is a product itself. It's called Serenity. And just to give you a quick run through, we ask users to sign up and help them to be able to give the emotions and the chat functionality more effectively. And we simply ask who they are and what kind of caregiver they are, and also what kind of caregiving they're looking to get. And we also ask if they're also be able to be supportive to others within the app. And here we know that users want to chat right away. And also we wanted to give a filter section where people could filter through different person and topic they want to chat about. And once they use the filter, they're already ready to be able to chat with someone and also get the support they need from. There's one more section where we also want to give, because the onboarding, we have a little bit of data of the user, especially who they are and what they're specifically looking for. Mm-hmm. And in Serenity, we also give a resources section where users could find more relevant resources they need, and so that they could read through articles or read through podcasts to give them the support they need.
We had some very talented designers, and as developers and engineers, we really tried to come as close as we could to that prototype, given the amount of time that we were faced with. This is the landing page for the Serenity application. We did want to maintain, like Scott said, a level of anonymity in caregivers that are going through a loss and they're grieving. We did want to maintain their anonymity in the chat. So if they don't want to disclose certain things like their name, stuff like that, they don't specifically have to. But right off the bat, you can go in and you can create an account. So this account feature, we actually integrated Google Firebase. So you can actually sign up specifically a Gmail account, and you can create an account simply by doing this, and you will be signed up. So you can save resources and various things like that. One of the main components here that was displayed in the prototype as well was the questionnaire or survey component. This is one of the main things that we saw would basically get caregivers that are grieving the help that they need. So we wanted to make this as simple as possible and not really overwhelm a caregiver who was already in a grieving process with too many options. So we basically divided it into two different parts. Hey, what's on your mind today? Do you want to talk about loss? Do you want to talk about sharing good memories? Do you just want to vent? So on this screen, we have the caregiver make one selection. So if they want to vent, they select vent and hit continue. And we simply ask them, who do you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to a nurse or doctor? Do you want to talk to a volunteer? Do you want to talk to another professional? And they make one selection here, and then they continue. On this page, they can share a thought with the community and an emoji of what they're feeling with the community as well. And on the next page, based on the topic that they want to speak about and who they want to speak with, from our database, it gives them a selection of different chats that they can choose to go into. So these chats are specifically tailored towards those options that they selected. And then they simply just have to select a chat here to actually go into a chat. So they can select venting with professional caregivers, and then they'll be directed to a chat where they can actually chat with a professional caregiver about, what they're going through, about venting, and get all of that out. And then also, on this page here, as Scott also displayed in the design prototype, there is a range of resources that we just wanted to make available to anyone who came to the site. You don't actually have to sign up, for the site or anything like that. This is just available resources, blog articles, SoundCloud links for podcasts that basically they can just listen to and get some type of relief automatically.
I'd love to know, since everyone is working on this project remotely from totally different states, what was that experience like?
Yeah, it's interesting because my entire UX experience so far has been remote. And I feel like everyone else on the team was also had a similar experience. So I think we were able to jump right in. We used Zoom and Slack as much as possible to stay on top of everything and to stay in touch with everyone. So I think we did really well in that way. You know, similar to how millennials and Gen Zers kind of grew up with the evolution of technology, I feel like our cohorts kind of came up in UX and in software engineering remotely with Zoom and Slack. So I think we hit the ground running.
And Scott, what was it like to build this project alongside software engineers? Because it's a mix of UX designers and software engineers on this team. Like, what were the strengths of having both on the team at the same time working this project?
I guess the biggest strength we had in our team was communication between the software team as well as the UX designers. And because of that, we had so many different perspectives looking at this product and how we could solve this problem. Because everyone had thought differently, but also hearing from software developers, we kind of understood what their MVP was, as well as our UX designers' MVP, and be able to kind of compromise and meet in the middle to kind of make this product like working and get all the MVPs down for every member of the team.
Shane, on the software engineering side, how did you decide which languages or technologies to use to build this project? And also, was it everything you learned at General Assembly, or did you have to like find out, you know, a bunch of new languages to use for this?
No, I think when we came together as engineers, we went straight into our toolkit of everything that we learned. And, you know, one of the best modern frameworks, JavaScript frameworks that we learned was React, just because of its performance implications and just because of just the flow of data. It's got a flux design pattern, which means that the data flows in a specific manner. And we were working with a lot of data here as far as like the chat rooms and what the user selects. So React is a newer framework that's developed by Facebook, and Facebook actually uses it. And it's very responsive. So we automatically knew we wanted to do something with React. We also used Ruby on Rails for the backend. And then we also used a PostgreSQL database, and we used GitHub to collaborate for the project. Like everything is hosted, like all the code is hosted on GitHub. And we were able to make pull requests and integrate everyone's code that they were working on locally on a GitHub that was in the cloud, and then deploy our project to Netlify. And we also used Material UI, which is maintained by Google. It's kind of like a design platform that's maintained by Google. So we use Material UI for the design aspects of, you know, what the user was going to see, what it looked like. Overall, it came together very well, and we, again, you know, we went into our tool bag of everything that we learned in General Assembly's bootcamp to kind of decide what we were going to use to build this project.
Jess, what do you feel like the biggest challenge was in building this beautiful project? And did General Assembly instructors help you out, or was it something that you kind of had to like sink or swim in this one?
That's a great question. I feel like our biggest challenge, because most of us were recent immersive grads, was learning how to work with the other team. So if we were on the UX team, how to work with software engineering, and if we're on software engineering, how to work with UX. And I think because Shahir from General Assembly, who had kind of kicked off the hackathon, set us up for success in setting up a really nice, welcoming, open learning environment, we were all open and asking questions and clarifying things and making sure we were keeping each other up to date with every single step, with any single change. So I think the biggest challenge was really understanding what the other team was capable of doing in that short amount of time, and what was kind of like way out of the question, like way too much for what we needed to accomplish by that Wednesday night. And we did have mentors. Every team had a mentor, and we had a great one. They checked in with us uh, pretty regularly, and I feel like we didn't end up using our mentor that much. I feel like we ended up figuring it out on our own. We had a total of 9 team members, so a big team for a hackathon in my experience. And we were able to collaborate and figure out any issues along the way.
Shane, how did this hackathon experience improve your own career development as a new software engineer?
Yeah, Jess, I think the hackathon improved my career development in 3 key ways. Number one, it sharpened my problem solving skills. Whenever you're building something from scratch, as we did here, there are going to be unique problems that come up. And this project gave me opportunities to come up with custom solutions to some problems we had in order to get the application working in the way we wanted it to. Secondly, this hackathon reinforced the skill of compromise. Like Jess said, there were 9 people that worked on the Serenity app, and all 9 of us had personal preferences on how it should have turned out, what it should look like, what it needs to do, the functionality, and the steps we should take to get there. What I loved about this experience is that we were all able to compromise on our personal preferences to reach a professional goal. Lastly, and this ties in with my second point, this really sharpened my collaborative skills. Not only did I work with other software engineers, but a big part of our team were our designers, and the engineers worked very closely with the designers. And it was a great learning lesson for both groups because it taught us how to communicate with others outside of our respective disciplines and scope problems and solutions in such a way that the other group is keen on what's actually taking place. I'll definitely be putting this project in my portfolio, and if given the opportunity, I'll be discussing it in future job interviews.
So, Scott, you were already working in design in some capacity in the fashion industry. So, how do you think this hackathon experience and the other design projects you built at GA, how will that help you sort of get to that next level in your design career?
Yeah, by attending GA and also participating in hackathon definitely made me level up in my design career. And because I truly learned how to think and look at problems differently and how I can make changes and help business benefit through design. And also working in a hackathon, I also learned that advocating for better design and improvement of design to different stakeholders such as developers or even the judges at the hackathon be able to understand the design choices that we made. And definitely taking the GA, also attending hackathon definitely helped me level up that skill.
So, Jess, you attended GA remotely and then you built this winning project with your team members remotely. Do you feel like this has helped you become a really good, well-rounded remote employee?
Absolutely. And again, I only know UX remotely right now. So I'm curious to see it in person. But yes, and actually one of my General Assembly instructors made a point of making it clear to us that we're kind of ahead of the game, having learned UX remotely. We have all the tools. We've used a bunch of tools that other UXers in the field are using remotely. And so, yeah, I do feel like we're kind of a step ahead. There's that hurdle of working remotely isn't a hurdle that we are currently experiencing since we have done everything from soup to nuts remotely.
Shane, are you glad that you went down this route and made a career switch into software engineering by enrolling at General Assembly? Like, was this whole experience worth it for you at this point?
Oh, definitely. It was definitely worth it. I would say that, before attending General Assembly, I saw tech as kind of like a hobby. Obviously, I love tech, and it was something that I was passionate about. But I think taking it from hobby to or passion to something that I glimmer at and I glance at to potentially a career, there's sort of a maturation. There's a lot of steps involved in that. How to learn, what to learn. Can I even learn this? are all questions that we face. And I think General Assembly, the immersive program, it took me through all of those steps, and I was able to answer all of those questions from working with the instructors who have worked in the field numerous years, and they're bringing in all this experience into everything they're teaching us. How they're showing us how to attack real world problems. I would say it was definitely worth it because it gave me so many skills, and it gave me such confidence in myself that I am able to work through all these real world problems and use tech to do it, and use tech to help our world. So 100% worth it for me.
And Jess and Scott, on the UX design immersive bootcamp side, is there anything that you wish you knew before day one of the bootcamp? Like any tips for future UX design bootcampers?
One thing that I learned from a General Assembly alumni panel that we did during the course, someone mentioned networking from the very beginning. And when you're in the immersive, there's a lot going on. As Shane says, you're literally immersed in this work 9 to 5 and usually late at night. So I would recommend networking from the very beginning, even before starting the course. And I know we throw the word networking around a lot, and we don't really explain what that looks like. Reach out to folks who are in the field that you're interested in. It doesn't matter if you haven't done it yet or if you haven't started the class yet. Reach out to them and ask them about themselves, ask them about their experience. Like I said, the UX community is very generous. They're very helpful. They're excited to share their experience and knowledge with anyone else who's interested in UX. So I recommend reaching out to people before, during, and after the immersive to learn about different UX practices and different organizations.
For me, I would advise going through the pre-work of the GA thoroughly, because that really helps as you go through the immersive to because if you have a pretty strong foundation, you'll be more adaptable to be learning new skills and new knowledge. And I think GA does that really well with their great pre-course foundation works.
And that's an excellent place to wrap up this hackathon project spotlight. Thank you so much for talking with me today, Scott, Jess, and Shane. So we will be posting a recording and a transcript of this video interview on the Course Report blog with contact information for General Assembly, just in case you're inspired and interested in applying for one of their upcoming cohorts. And thank you so much to all of you for watching. Tweet at us, email us, let us know which topic you'd like us to cover next on the Course Report blog. And in the meantime, you can follow Course Report on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're a bootcamp alumni, don't forget to post a review of your own bootcamp experience on Course Report. Your review is a huge help to anyone who's thinking of getting into tech today.